Hey besties, thank you so much for clicking onto my channel. As you guys can tell by the title, we're going to be doing a full palette collection video. I have no idea how long this video is going to be, so let's jump right into it. We have drawer number 1 and drawer number 2. Just because drawer number 2 is a little bit more overwhelming, we're going to start with 1 and work our way to number 2. Okay besties, so we're going to start with my Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes. So I'm going to start right here. This right here is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Prism palette. You guys, I thought that this was a really cool color story when I first got it, but I just never ended up using it. I thought it was really different to most of the things I had in my collection, but maybe that overall kind of just scared me away from wanting to use it altogether. But there are some really pretty shades in here. I just honestly never really got around to making looks with it, which is really unfortunate. Next one is the Soft Glam palette. Now if you guys have been doing makeup for a long time or just like have been in the makeup community for a while, you probably know exactly what this one is. This one is gorgeous. I would say I've used it maybe 3 or 4 times, but out of those 3 or 4 times, I was never displeased with the look I came out with, and it's really stunning palette for those soft glam moments. Okay, so this next one, you guys, look at how beat up my Modern Renaissance is. It really is a stunning palette still, but I definitely don't reach into it anymore, at all really. I only hold on to it because it has a special part in my heart. I think this was really a holy grail for a lot of people back then in 2016, I think it was. And yeah, I still really love having this in my collection because it gives me nostalgia. It does. It really does. And it was one of the first palettes that I ever owned that was higher end. This is my Sultry palette. This was actually a gift to me from my girlfriend. I am obsessed and in love with this palette. These shimmers in this specific palette are amazing, top notch. If you are interested in trying out any type of Anastasia shimmers, I recommend this palette to any and everyone because I think it is so beautiful. The color story in here is amazing. I wore this for my last birthday. I love this palette so much, and the packaging is gorgeous. Moving on to the Riviera palette. This was a summer collection palette by Anastasia. I do really like this one. I was able to make a good amount of looks and use it a good amount of times, and I really did appreciate the color story because usually Anastasia doesn't really put a bunch of colors in their palettes like this, so I do really like it for that reason, but I don't really reach for it often anymore, so I wish that I did, but I don't. But I do appreciate the colors in this palette and just, adding neutrals with those pops of color, and I probably will use it next summer, but we're kind of in fall now, so. Okay, this is the Alyssa Edwards palette. You guys, look at that packaging on the outside. Okay. I love Alyssa Edwards, so I had to buy this literally just to support. You guys can tell, these aren't really my shades, but I literally just bought it in support of Alyssa Edwards. You guys know you have some creators you just have to support that way. I do love the packaging and everything. I just really haven't gravitated towards it, but I had to buy it. You already know. This is the Norvina palette. You guys, I love the shimmers also in this palette. So if I was going to recommend you any of these palettes, it'd probably be the Sultry and the Norvina one, specifically just for the shimmer quality. I love this shade right here called Wild Child. The whole palette, all together, is really beautiful. I wish it was more purple toned though. I get that there's a few purples in there, but I really thought it would have way more. But I mean, the way they incorporated the purple in this palette is still really nice. Jackie. If you guys watch, Jackie's channel, then you know what I'm talking about. But this is Jackie Aina's palette with Anastasia. It is so beautiful. If I could recommend you one palette just for color story alone, it would be this one right here. This palette is so beautiful, so beautiful. I can't talk too much about it, but it's really good, you guys. you know those palettes that just speak for themselves? This one just kind of speaks for it. Like, I don't have anything to say. I think that the color story says it all. So yeah, thank you, Jackie. I know we love the packaging, the quality, just like everything that palette stands for. This is the Subculture palette. You guys know this one was really controversial, very controversial. I actually like it, contrary to some people. I feel like as long as you really go in light-handed, you can get a really gorgeous and different eye look with this. I love this palette, you guys. I don't care what anyone says. I think that she's a pretty lady. And that's all I have to say about that. The color story is so different, and I love that. Some more Anastasia under here. So this is the Norvina Volume 1 Collection palette. Ooh, so big. Okay, and this is what the color story looks like. I think that this is really beautiful. I think at first when I saw it, I was like, that makes no sense. Like, why do we have these oranges and then the red and then the... But it makes a lot of sense, actually. Like, not even the red. I think it was more like the yellows with everything. But honestly, it does make sense now that, like, I've used it a couple times. It makes a lot of sense. And sometimes when brands do really big palettes like this, it makes me it gives me anxiety, and it makes me actually not use the palette altogether. That's why with Morphe, it's really hard for me to like use their palettes. But I actually use this one and all three of these I'm about to show you very often, and I really do feel like they have good quality. So they are like 60 bucks, so I know that's a lot for a lot of people, but I do really like it. Which one is 2? This one is Volume 2, and to be very honest with you guys, I think that the quality here is actually pretty good as well. One of my TikToks actually went viral using this specific palette, so that's how you know when it's a good palette, when it makes those really nice eye looks. I personally feel like I get mermaid vibes from this palette, and I love that for the brand, love that for my eyelids. And yeah, I really do like this one. This is the Volume 3 palette, and I have to say the packaging on this one is my favorite. I also really like this color story. The only shade that I think there's one green in here that for me, it just wasn't packing on like I wanted to. I wish I could tell you, but one of these greens did not pack the way I wanted it to. But other than that, I've tried most of the shades in here and really loved it. And I think that you can make some really beautiful and different looks with this palette. Like, you could probably make like 10 eye looks with this palette, and they would all look super different. So I love that about all three of these, really. Moving on to Dose of Colors, there's this Marvelous Mauves Dose of Colors palette right here. I think that this color story is stunning. It's really beautiful. It's all matte, which sometimes is necessary. I haven't really used it a bunch, probably like just 2 or 3 times, but I do want to use it because I do like to use these mauve shades more in fall, which we are in right now, so I definitely will get my use out of it this year for sure. The next Dose of Colors palette I have is the Friendcation from Desi and Katie. It's beautiful. It is beautiful. Stunning. The mattes are okay, like they're whatever, but like the shimmers, these 5 shimmers are unreal, you guys. They are so beautiful. I love them so much, and I would recommend this palette to anyone. It's super sleek and compact, and it's just really amazing quality. It's one of my favorites, and it's one that I reach to so often out of all my other palettes, and you guys will see that I do have a lot. Okay, this is the I Love Sarai. I hope I'm saying that right. Dose of Colors. Whoa, wow. Okay, so you guys see it, right? That just totally is broken, which I had no idea about. That's great. Okay, so I'm gonna close that up. You guys seen the color story. It was a beautiful palette. It still is, obviously. Hopefully it doesn't mess up my carpet too bad. Obviously, like you can see it like broken apart on my fingers right there. It is a stunning formula, just like the Friendcation, really. Unfortunately though, you know, it's broken a little bit, so I just have to fix it up. I'm gonna move like right on because that just made me sad. Moving on to Urban Decay. This is the Naked Honey palette, and this is the only palette in this form that I really gravitated to the most, and it's the only one I have in my collection like to date. I really feel like this is a beautiful take on honey and just the shade yellow in general, because it's not overly yellow and it's a very flattering way to incorporate yellow into your eyeshadow if you don't really just want like straight up, you know, bright yellow in your face, like, and on your eyes. So I do really love this palette for that reason. I think that the shades in here are gorgeous. The quality is amazing and the packaging is honestly stunning. This next palette has a really beautiful packaging as well. This is the Naked Metals palette. Now I'm going to be really honest with you guys and say I've never used any of these shades other than maybe these two a day in my life. Like, never really. But I have used these shimmers a ton, and I have really liked them a lot. I just personally feel like the other shimmers aren't really my vibe as much, but I do love these, and I did get this on a sale, so that's how I justify paying what I paid for just honestly using half of the products. And this is the Chocolate Bonbons palette. I used to love this palette so much. All of the chocolate bar palettes, I just had to have them back then when I first got into makeup. And the quality here is very inconsistent with these shades, and for that reason I probably should declutter it. This isn't a declutter video, so I'm not going to in this one, but let me know if you guys want me to do a declutter video in the future, and I can definitely make that happen. Next palette is the Too Faced White Chocolate Bar palette. I actually don't mind the quality in here. I think it's actually very good. The only thing that I will say about this one is that I simply just do not use it as much. I don't know why. I actually am going to be very upfront with you guys and tell you that I think I've never used this palette, not one time. So that's probably, I mean, that's not very good, you know, that's definitely not very good. I definitely do need to get my money's worth, but I just haven't, you guys, so I definitely need to do that. So the Too Faced Chocolate Gold palette is probably my favorite to date. I do really love this palette still. The only issue that I've ever had with it is the fact that the shimmers are actually stunning, okay? Like, they're beautiful shimmers. However, that's all there is here other than these, what, 4 mattes that you have. So whenever I do use this specific palette, I always go in with a all matte palette as well. So this definitely is, in my opinion, more of a complementary palette. Even though you do have like 4 mattes here, I still like to, you know, add other shades as well. But I do love this palette, and I do think it was well curated. Okay guys, moving on to Huda Beauty's palettes. I love Huda's palettes. Now, I don't have the Rose Quartz, like the new palette, out on me right now, but it is on the way here, and I will have a review video up for you guys on that. But this is the Mercury Retrograde. I think that this palette is gorgeous. I mean, gorgeous. One of my favorite, probably like top 5 palettes that I own. Fun fact, it's actually on my lids right freaking now, so love that for me. But yeah, I really do reach for Huda Beauty's palettes super often, and I think that this one, with all those textures that you get in there, is simply amazing, and I use it very often. So this palette is the Nude palette, and this one is actually in their cardboard packaging, and I have to tell you guys that this color story speaks to me in ways you guys just do not even understand. The only thing that I will say that I do not like about this specific palette is the fact that right here, you see that weird looking shade, that's actually a primer, like a eyeshadow primer. I don't even really like it. It creased really bad when I did use it, so I really would rather just have, you know, another shimmer shade, another matte shade. Other than that though, I love these different textures that we get in here. We got 2 glitters. I love that. Some people don't. I do. Fun fact, when I used to have my desk job like 2 years ago, I would literally use the mess out of this. I'd use this every single day for work. So I think it's a really good all day palette. You could switch it up with some glitter, make it like a nighttime, you know, look palette. I love this palette and I can't say enough good things about it. This is the Desert Dusk palette, and again, the packaging on this one is stunning. I personally really love the shades in here, you guys. I just haven't used this palette at all. Like, I'm looking at it and I'm like, dang, have I used this one time? So I definitely need to get around to it. The only thing I'll say is the purple in here feels a little drying when I did, because I have already swatched it, but I think that quality wise I can't really say anything because I haven't used it on my actual eyes. But I love the color story here. I wish there were some more purples, to be really honest, you know, more than all these nudes on the top, but whatever. I think it's a really nice palette. Moving on to our Lunar Beauty palettes. I love Lunar Beauty. Manny, I love you. This palette right here is the Greek Goddess palette. It's phenomenal. I think the quality of this is really beautiful. I think if you want to support Manny and you don't like color, like super colorful shades when it comes to palettes, you will love this palette because, you know, he did that little pop of blue that a bunch of brands do. The quality of this is unreal, and personally I think this is a really beautiful everyday palette. Can we take a moment for the packaging? I love this. Is a gorgeous color story as well. The only thing I will say about this one is that these two shades were a little bit harder to work with than some other blues that I've used, but I will say that once you do build them up, they are bold and beautiful, whereas some, you know, blues, they actually fade away as you blend them. No, these ones really do stay there. This shade right here in what is it called, Blue Diamond, is insane. That shade is so beautiful. I had to make more room on my memory card, so I'm really hoping that we got the last palette that I shared. If not, really quickly, just throwing it in just in case we didn't get it. It was the Strawberry Dream palette by Manny MUA, just showing it like really quickly just in case we didn't get that on camera. The next palette we have is, let's do it in order. This is the Moonspell Lunar Beauty palette. Oh, sorry, it doesn't have the slip. I thought it did. This is what it looks like. I thought this palette was super grungy and sexy and really nice for Halloween, to be honest, because it came out around Halloween time last year, and I had to, oh gosh, I had to get my hands on it. Was it? No. I think this was 2 years ago. Someone let me know if it was a year ago or 2 years ago, because I actually think it was 2 years ago that I got this, and I missed his last year one. But I did get this year's Halloween one. This is the Moonspell Volume 2. Looks like this, and you guys, come on with the vibes. This is such a beautiful palette, you guys. I have used it. I've made like 1 or 2 looks, and the shades in here are unfreaking real, you guys. I love them so much, especially this shade right here called Luna. I think is one of the prettiest bubblegum pink shades I've ever seen, and it's so wet looking. The quality overall is fantastic. I get so happy when I use this palette. I'm so happy even just looking at it. I think that it's a pinky, purpley, reddish eyeshadow lover's dream right here. This palette is so bougie, you guys. This is like an $80 palette by Pat McGrath. It's the only Pat McGrath palette I have, and it looks like this. This is the Celestial Odyssey palette. And I have to tell you guys that the quality in here is honestly stunning. Is it $80 worth stunning? I'm not going to answer that. But I wish it wasn't as good as it is. I really love just the look of this. The packaging here, the shades are stunning. This is such a nice holiday release palette because it's one of the holiday ones from this year. I personally think that if you can get your hands on this, do. If you can't, like, it's totally okay. But I really do enjoy the looks I've made. I've made like 3 or 4 looks, and I just got it like a month ago. I really do love that one, you guys. I'm not going to talk too much about it because it's so expensive, and I feel bad talking about it if you can't get your hands on it. We didn't go through these Huda Beauty mini palettes, so we're just going to go through that really quickly. This is the neon pink Huda Beauty palette right here. Looks like that. I love pinky and purpley tones when it comes to eyeshadow, so this is so up my alley. I've used this probably 6 or 7 times, which for me, with how many palettes I have, that is a lot. So I love this one. This is the Neon Beauty green palette. I think that this color story is also really cute. I just wish it had some more dimension. And maybe that's not even what I mean. I think I mean depth. I wish I had more depth. I wish I had like deeper shades to really make more eye looks with it. You know what I mean? Like just like deeper eye looks. So I do think this is a really pretty palette, but I usually pair it with other palettes when I do use it. Alright, the quality of all 3 of these is alright. I'm going to say that off the bat. The other palettes have better quality, but I'm going to go through this really quickly. This is the Sapphire Obsessions palette. Looks like that. Like I said, it could have better quality. When I say that, I'm talking about the mattes. This is the Amethyst Obsessions. Looks like that. This one actually has a little bit better of quality with the mattes. And then we have this one right here, which is the Huda Beauty Emerald Obsessions, which I actually really do love this one. So I just wanted to run through those really quickly because we didn't before. Now we're gonna go through the Dominique Cosmetics palettes that I have. I don't even think you guys can fully see all of the palettes I have. But we're just gonna go ahead. This is the Celestial Storm palette. Looks like this. I think that this is a really beautiful color story. I just personally, for whatever reason, this is not a bad palette, I just don't use it. I used it when I got it like 2 or 3 times, and then I just never went back. I don't know why. I don't know. It is really pretty though. Actually, before we even continue, let me ask you guys a question. This is my Midnight Moon palette by Artist Couture, and people say that those 2 are dupes. The one I just showed you guys and this one are dupes. Obviously, this is like a condensed dupe, but tell me if you guys think that these look similar or not enough to be dupes. Okay, I also have the Celestial Thunder palette, which is like a mini of the Celestial Storm, which I got in a BoxyCharm, and I had a really hard time finding this, but I just found it like a couple weeks ago, and I think it's super cute. I really don't need it since I have the other one, but thank you BoxyCharm just for sending that to me. This next one is the Rustic Glam palette. I am so into the green in this palette. This right here, this green is everything. This pink is everything. This blue, this green. I love this whole palette, period. I think if you're going to get one palette from her, I would really strongly suggest this one because it's a little bit different in color theme, and I love it. I really do. I really do. This is also another one that I probably would recommend. It's the Berries and Cream palette. I love that packaging, so cute. And it looks like this. I think this is just right up my alley when it comes to the kind of neutrals that I specifically am into. It does have that depth that I feel like some palettes do lack. Not hers, I'm talking about, but just like in my collection. It has a lot of depth to it. It doesn't have like too many shimmers. I think that the quality in here is really nice, and I definitely do see why she would name this Berries and Cream for sure. So this palette from Dominique Cosmetics is the first one she actually came out with, and it's called the Latte palette. I had always wanted this palette, and then I finally got it I think like 2 years ago, and I'm really happy that I did because I think it's such a nice color story, very obviously neutral, but her shimmers in here are super good. Like, they're super bomb. So for that reason, I think it's an amazing choice. I also like that you get these 2 deep colors as well. And yeah, I don't really have a lot to say, but I don't have anything negative to say either. I'm gonna move on to my Jeffree Cosmetics palettes. This is the mini Jawbreaker right here. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't used this palette one time. Not even once, okay? I will tell you that the formula in here is probably really good, but I personally just never used it. I don't know why. I kind of feel bad. I feel like the reason was because I was so excited about this one, which is the big Jawbreaker palette, that I just kind of like didn't care about the little guy. This is so dirty. I will say that the fallout in this palette is real with some of the shades, obviously, because you see it's really touching some of the other shades, which kind of like bothers me that they touch like that. But it's whatever, like it's okay. The palette itself is really beautiful. The quality is amazing. You guys already know, if you've used Jeffree's palettes, that his quality usually never really misses. Now these are two palettes that I thought I'd really get use out of, but like literally never have. So I'm not going to talk about them too much, just because even though they're nice in quality, I just do not reach. Like, you guys can tell that this Blood Sugar, that's what it's called, right? Yeah, this Blood Sugar palette, I have never even touched it. I bought it on a sale and had never even touched it after I bought it. I don't know why. I can't tell you. Like, maybe I just like to waste my own money, but I have not used this palette. This one, this Blue Blood palette, oh my gosh, when he had came out with this, I was like, I need this palette. I have only used this one like twice. I have no idea why I just do not use his eyeshadow. Like, it's really great. I just do not use it a lot. Does anyone else like that? Maybe you're all like, no, I use my palettes. You're weird and wasteful. But I mean, I like that they sit here and stuff, but I don't know. Here are all the other single palettes that I have over here. They don't really have friends from the same brands, so we're gonna run through these. Let's first go with the Smoke Sessions palette from Mel. I think that this is a come on now, like, this is a gorgeous color story. Am I right? Like, look at that, babes. Like, this is a bomb palette. Personally, I love this mint shade right here. I have actually done like probably like 3 looks with this palette. I feel like every time I kind of go for like this side instead of moving over here with those golds. I really want to play with the gold in the future, but I think that Melt comes out with some bomb behind quality palettes. So yeah, it's very sleek and compact, similar to that Francation palette, even more so. So for that reason too, I really like it. It's so sleek and compact. And yeah, really love it. The Tarteist Pro, and I swear I gave this to my mom. So after this video, I need to go give this to her because I don't know why it's back in here. It's so old at this point though. Maybe I shouldn't give it. Like, maybe I should just retire this one, because I've had this for literally years and it looks dusty at this point. It's an okay palette. I mean, there's other palettes, to be honest, that I think are better, especially from Tarte. This is the Party Animal palette by Laura Lee Los Angeles. I think that it's really nice, but it doesn't really fit her overall aesthetic when it comes to like her brand like now, because this is a really old palette. The quality isn't bad or anything. I just personally don't really reach into it. I find that if a brand's aesthetic doesn't really match up with them personally, then I usually don't use it as much, you know what I mean, which is weird. So I really want to try her other palettes that she has, because now they scream Laura Lee to me. This next palette is the Laura Geller The Casual Collection Multi-Finish Eyeshadow Palette. I have never used anything other than this from Laura Geller, and when I tell you guys, this made me want to go on her website and go broke. I am not joking with you guys. This quality is amazing. I specifically love this shade right here. I think it is one of the most unique shades that I have in my collection. Let me try to get really close up and personal so you can see what I'm talking about. Not that one, but this one is unreal on the eyelid. I think that the palette overall I thought would be super choppy and just like not cute and patchy, but it's really gorgeous, the mattes and the shimmers in here, and I want to try more. This is the Ease to Wear eyeshadow makeup palette. I am not hating on this. I just haven't used it because it's really not my vibes. I mean, it's really not my vibes. So I probably got this in like a BoxyCharm or something a couple years ago, and just like it's just been sitting here. So in a declutter, this next palette obviously did come from a BoxyCharm. As you can see, their logo right there. It's the Blink Electric Eyes palette. This came out years ago, and honestly back then I was so happy to have this palette, and still am now even, because the shimmers in here are so good. I mean, they're really beautiful. A little goes a long way with these. I actually do really recommend these, even though I don't really use them anymore. It was, when I got it, I mean, it's compact, smooth, beautiful, very nice. I would say if you have like an all matte palette, I would definitely pair it with this one to really add some gorgeous shimmer on the eyelids. This is a bomb palette. This is the Butter London palette, and it is the Natural Goddess palette. That's what it's called. And I think that the shades in here are definitely more up my alley. This is another one that I got from BoxyCharm, and I actually really do love this one. Specifically, these two shades right here. I think this is a really nice, girly, just light palette, if that makes sense. It just, like, I look at it and I just feel really light and like girly. So I do really love this palette for that reason. I haven't used it a ton, as I feel like you can tell, but I definitely plan to more in the future. So this next palette is the Ayana palette by Natasha Denona. This is the only Natasha Denona palette that I own because BoxyCharm sent it to me. Thank you. I really do like this color story. Specifically, this shade here on the end is gorgeous. The only thing I will say is that I'm kind of sad because, I don't know, I feel like people have said that the quality here is not as good as the bigger palettes, which, you know, would make sense to me. I mean, not really, like, why not? Like, I feel like this palette alone is like $50, so I would love if they put the same quality in here. I think the quality here is actually really good alone, so I would love to see what the bigger quality looks like, you know, eventually. But baby, I don't have like $200 to spend on an eyeshadow palette at the moment, but I do really like this. It gave me a little taste of Natasha Denona, and I'm pretty happy with it. This next palette is from Makeup Forever. It's the Professional Paris palette. This is what the palette looks like. I don't think I've ever used this, so I definitely need to make a note, like a mental note to myself, to definitely get some uses out of it to see if I like it or not, because I really can't tell you anything about it at the moment. This palette from Tarte is actually really nice. Wow, it's broken. Okay, I actually forgot. I already knew that this one was broken, but I just forgot for a second. This was really pretty, you know, before it broke. It's still really pretty. Let me tell you what the name of it is. It is the Make Believe in Yourself palette. I really loved this palette whenever I was using like a matte palette back in the day and stuff, and I just needed something really quick and pretty to add on the eyelids. This is something that I got like when I was starting in makeup though, so this is a pretty old palette at this point, maybe like 3-4 years old, so I probably should declutter it for that reason alone, but it's so pretty and it was just really hard for me to let go of it for that reason. This is the Ace Beauty Grandiose palette, and I remember when I first got this, I was so crazy about it because I think it came out in like the fall time, and I think this is a really beautiful fall palette in general, and I definitely should start using it again. I just think that the new formula from Ace Beauty as of recent, because this is a pretty old palette, is way better, because I do think that they reformulated, and I do notice a difference for sure. So for that reason, I think that's why I haven't really been reaching for it, but it's not a bad palette by any means. This is the Pure Festival palette, and this one came out a couple years ago. I do really like it. I really like these chunky glitters that you get up in there, and I do also like that pink. The only shade in here I'm not too fond with is that purple. Other than that, I think it's a really beautiful palette. I have used it a couple times, but probably not once this year even, so that kind of makes me feel like it's time to declutter it as well. Dude, the fact that I still have this palette is crazy. This is the Nice palette by Kylie Jenner, and it was nice for the time, but years have kind of gone by, and it's definitely time to move on from this one as well. But the color story is a really nice neutral vibe with that little pop of color, with that bluey purple shade. This is the Violet Voss Essentials palette. Looks like this. I got it in a BoxyCharm, literally never used it. I feel so bad, but to be fair, I think I got it twice by accident, so I think I might have used the other one. Is that all? That's all in here, you guys. I think that because we already have another drawer with even more palettes than in this drawer to go through, I'm going to break this video up into 2 pieces. So this is going to be part 1 here, and then I'm going to do part 2 in a couple days. Comment down below if you guys liked this video and if you're excited for part 2. Also, if you made it this long, know that I love you guys so much, and please consider subscribing if you are not already, and maybe leaving a nice comment down below. Bye guys. I am so hot.